If you do anything for long enough, you're going to get bored of it. It's going to take its toll on you. You're going to start to get complacent. You are. It's not like, I love my job, I love this character and I love the show, but it doesn't matter. There is always a danger that you're going to get complacent because you've been doing it for such a long time, right? It's just about keeping it fresh. Keep it fresh, approach it differently, maintain your focus, and it will be fine. We have amazing jobs. We have great jobs that I'm very grateful for, and it's far too easy to go, oh my God, I can't be bothered with the next season. I can't be bothered going to work. I've shot 4 times this week. What? I need some days off. It's like, no, hang on. You get paid well. You have a fan base that love you. You're in a show that's doing really well and is on the rise. Take stock of that for a moment in your hiatus and come in and attack it from a fresh angle if you need to. I think that's important.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Richard Rankin is an actor. He plays Roger in the hit series Outlander. On the occasion of the release of its 5th season, he sat down with me in New York City to talk about the work.
What's the first step in your process for stepping back into the character of Roger? Like when you're away from him, do you have a first step now that you take? Like this is maybe the 3rd time, this last season was the 3rd time you kind of were away from him, stepped back in. Is there
That's
a first?
A very interesting question. That really is, isn't it? That's a question that I think about a lot, all the time with any character. What is the first step? And there is no first step because it's always different. So there's no sort of standard way of getting back into a character. It depends on where you've left the character and what groundwork you've done with that character, what prep, what development you've already done with the character. For example, in season 2, I had done so much research and groundwork with Roger in terms of getting into that character and how do I perceive that character, how do I want to tell his story. I had done, weeks and weeks worth of prep. And because I had laid that foundation, it was always much easier for me to access that character. I keep a journal on the character. In season 2 and 3, I kept a journal of his thoughts, what he gets up to. Tried to write it as much as I could in the period. It's all as much as I could written in his language, his voice, I suppose. So I refer back to that. I also did a journal on accent and dialect for Roger because he's from Inverness. So I always found that quite a kind of good route back into Roger was the voice, literally, his accent. Because Invernessian accent's quite different from the Glaswegian, so I spent a lot of time working on that, and I always found that was quite good. For me, that's like when you have to do an accent, there's always maybe a kind of a key phrase or some words that will sort of warm you up to the accent that gives you sort of an in to that accent, and I think that was very much the same for Roger, but obviously to dig a little bit deeper, it depends on, like I said, where you've left the character. So my picking up season 4 Roger was very different from stepping back into Roger in season 5, because you kind of have to go back and retrace your steps through season 4. What happened? I know the kind of core of the character. I know the foundation of the character. I know what makes him tick. I know all that 60s and 70s groundwork that I did. I know his accent. I know his family history. I know his profession. I know his sort of psychology and the characteristics that make the man. But how have the events of season 4 affected him? Where do I want to pick him up now? I need to remember everything that he's gone through.
Because he went through a lot in that.
He went through a lot, yeah, and these things will change a man.
Yeah.
These things will give him a different outlook on life. So it was important to go back over that and, decide for myself, I suppose, how does Roger see the world when we come into season 5? And it's very easy to get complacent when you come into when you've done several seasons of something.
Yeah.
You could come into it and do next to no work and just pick up the script and, I suppose, run with it, but you're not going to get much satisfaction. There's nothing particularly fulfilling about that. But you could, and I suppose actors do get complacent, and that's another thing that's very, very important when you're doing something that's long running, is, I suppose, to maintain your focus on what it is you're doing, because it's so easy to lose sight of that. So that's something that I am very aware of and try very hard to avoid. I've given you a really, really, really long answer to
this is what we want on the show. Long answers, we want them on the show. But just to pick on something you just said, though, which I find interesting. You said it's not very satisfying to just pick up the script and get into it, which you could, and maybe other people do. I find that interesting because some people have said stuff like, they do all that work because they're scared. They're scared they're not going to do it right. That's where all the obsessive work comes from, Where
that's always the fear. That's just always the fear with actors.
Yeah.
Actors who want to, they want to have range, they want to go further, they want to really succeed in what they're doing, and they want to do it well, to find that thing. I think good actors are always chasing a thing, and they're always scared that they're going to get that wrong, and they're always scared that they're going to get found out. So maybe that's why some actors prepare so much. I don't know. But continue, I'm sorry.
I found it interesting that you said it's about your satisfaction, meaning it's almost like it's not, like you didn't pinpoint the fear there. You pinpointed it almost like in a playful way, like maybe that's not, playful is not the right word, but more of a like, not on the defensive with the whole idea of like fear of it. You're saying it's about your satisfaction. Your work is, you put that kind of crazy work into it because you want it to be satisfying, it sounds like. Is that right?
Yeah, you want to do it justice. You want to do the character justice, and you want to do yourself justice. You can pick up a script after several seasons of something and run. You're going to know the character's going to be in you to a certain extent. I see exactly what you're saying. You start off, and a lot of things will come from a place of fear, getting it wrong, not being very good, people finding you out. So you're chasing all this, you're chasing that thing, and you're doing all this prep, and a lot of it will come from, is it fear, or is it more, there's going to be quite an expectation on you. There certainly is an Outlander, because it comes from books. There's already an expectation. Yeah. And I suppose that's why with Roger, I think I did more prep in the beginning than maybe I've done on almost any other job. Probably more, because I suppose I was really seeking this man, Roger, what he was and what he was to other people, so that I could have an idea of that and then build on that for myself. But I think the thing about that satisfaction is you'll know whether or not you have kept your focus and did your job as an actor, used your tools, came along, employed your craft in this character, versus coming along and just picking it up and running with it. They are two very different things, because what's going to happen after several seasons, like I said, is the character's in there. And the point of doing so much prep, so much character work, so much development work, is you should do it to the point, or I think you should do it to the point. Every actor's different, right? Which is why this is so fascinating. Yeah. Which is why this is always such a fascinating conversation. And I love talking to other actors about what is your process, what do you do, what do you think about this, why are you so great, how do you do what you do in the way that you do it. And I think actors that look upon other actors like that, I think are always going to get better. But to go back to my point, it should start to become second nature. You want all of this work to be in the subconscious, right? You don't want to be thinking about it. So you're not tapping into it. So I understand what you're saying about it coming from a place of fear. A lot of things do in this business. But at the same time, if you're doing it well and you're doing it thoroughly, then you can kind of put that literally, hopefully, put that in the back of your mind. That's the aim. But the ongoing development, like I say, going back to season 4 and retracing those steps and doing the work there, that's a different thing. You're layering there, aren't you? You're kind of sprinkling on the events of season 4 onto what is already should be quite a thorough foundation for the character.
Can we go back just for a second? We'll come back to Outlander, but I heard this story. It can't be true. You know, you're in LA. Somebody tells you you have the look of an actor, and then you become an actor. If this is true, can you just tell me I have the look of an actor so I can become an actor?
I thought you were an actor when you walked in the room. Your presence, you just filled the room. You just had. You should be an actor. You ever...
Wait, you're a good actor now.
No, I'm being very honest.
No.
The story of that, I'm hearing different versions of that story all the time now. More and more.
It's legend. This is what legends happen. This is how...
I mean, it's growing legend. There is some truth to that. Basically, what had happened was I'd went to LA when I was 21, and at the time I wasn't an actor in any way, shape, or form. I was in computers and IT. I had experimented with many creative outlets. Music, I always thought was going to be something that I was going to get into full time. But I was out in LA. It was at the Roosevelt Hotel actually, and it was very, very quiet. It must have been a very quiet time of year, because it was only myself and my girlfriend at the time, and a cast and crew of a show that must have been shooting there at the time. And I wasn't in the industry, so a lot of what was said, I think, went by me. But anyway, you know, they learned that we were Scottish and we were there by ourselves and we were on holiday, and I think it was their producer. And I want to say it was the OC, but I can't say that for certain, so maybe don't quote me on it. And we just got chatting, and he was, you know, basically kind of asking if I'd ever, you know, had an interest in the business. Had I done, you know, dramatics when I was younger, and they were just really more interested in the fact that we were from Scotland than anything else. But the conversation kind of went on, and he said, "Have you ever considered acting in your life?" sort of thing. Is that something that's ever, you know, played a part in your life? You have quite an interesting look for an actor, in a very casual, conversational way. And you know, not much. I didn't think much of any of this at the time. A lot of this conversation just happened in passing. But it kind of planted a little bit of a seed in it, and I thought about it. And you think about something enough, you plant a little seed there, it'll grow and it'll grow and it'll grow. And I remember all the way going home, thinking, I wonder if I could. Like, I wonder what my aptitude as an actor would be. And I think I was talking to Charlene, my girlfriend at the time. I was thinking, yeah, I could be an actor. I think, you know, I've already got my thing. I'm already hunkering down and doing what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But the more I thought about it, the more it sort of bred and grew. And it was a very, very gradual process. This story of meeting an American and him saying, "Hey, you look like you could be an actor," and then me going, "Oh yeah, I could be an actor," then going home and being one is not how it happened. It was a really long process. I got home and I looked into some things, then I looked into drama schools, and I emailed some people, I spoke to people who were either students or in the business that I had access to. And then I applied to drama school and got in and did 3 years of training. And then I became an actor. So being told by this Hollywood exec, "Hey, you look good, you should be an actor, go be one," and then me going home and being one is not what happened.
Yeah. It's just interesting because you're a capital A actor. I don't mean that in like a popularity way. I mean like you're a deep actor, you know. So it's not for someone to have said you like it's just, like that you look like an actor, and then like I believe that you were always an actor.
Well, so do I. I have to have been for the love and the passion that I have for the work and the craft and all aspects of it.
Yeah.
I think must. Yeah, I do. I mean, how much do I believe in fate or destiny? I don't know, but it feels like the kind of thing where I think, this is what I was supposed to do.
Can we have a serious, clinical conversation
No.
about romantic chemistry? And I like anybody else, like you maybe get questions like this, especially when you're with Sophie somewhere about this, and it's a giggly kind of thing. I want to talk about this in a really clinical way, because I'm new to Outlander. You know, I just binged the whole thing, and my reaction is like, holy shit! Like, this is on a level of romance, you know, like that I haven't seen in modern storytelling times. And therefore, I feel like there's a burden on the actors, but you can tell me if I'm wrong, that has to do with this. And when you go and you look at just fans, like they're so rabid about this guy, about this shit. And you have these stars of the show who set the kind of groundwork for this kind of thing, and then you step into it, you and Sophie. What kind of weight is that on you, added to all the other weight of you as an actor in the show? Do you not think about this at all?
What the weight of what though?
Well,
what am I trying to achieve in this?
I guess
scenario?
I mean, well, first of all, like when I saw your sex scene, it was so long. It felt like it had to take 3 days to shoot.
It did. It took exactly 3 days to shoot.
How can a sex
4
scene take
maybe.
3 days? Like, it was so intricate, so like it went on and on. It was like, and I'm just like, this is not conducive for humans to go through this. Human artists, you know what I mean? I mean, like, just the idea of this, and then for it to be so, I mean, it just worked too. So I'm trying to just figure out, for a normal sex scene, like, it's worried about all production long. You see it on the thing, you go there the day of, you bang it out, no pun intended, right? And it's all done. This is like, not only is this 3 days long, what I'm saying is this is important to the show. This chemistry is important to the show. It's not like a secondary thing like it is in other things. Do you think about that? Did you think about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It should never be a secondary thing. Think about sex scenes, and if you want to take it a little bit further, talk about nudity. I feel like it should never be gratuitous. It's just a waste. It's just a waste of time. And if it tells a story, if it furthers the story somehow, if it enhances the story, then great. I'm all for it. This particular sex scene that you're talking about was very, very important.
Yeah.
It was very important for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
It was very important because it was quite anticipated from the fans who already know it's coming. These are the book fans who also watch the show, right?
Yeah.
And anyone who's interested in that relationship, actually, because they've come through the mill a little bit. And this is a sort of a consolidation of them. This is a real union for those characters, which is what I always thought about. Sophie and I talked about it a lot. What does this mean? Well, not just having sex. What does it mean?
Right.
And if you start asking those questions, which I did frequently, then I think it becomes much more valuable.
Yeah.
It's much, much more valuable if you ask the question of what are we doing here? We're not just having sex. What does this say about our relationship? What does this say about these characters' love for one another? What does this say about our characters as individuals? How does this change us? How does this impact us, right?
Yeah.
If you're asking all these questions, some people might think that's overanalyzing and just have the sex, right? And I suppose there's an argument to be made for that too. But I think because of the importance of it within the story, I couldn't help but think of it and ask these questions of myself. Was there an added weight to it on top of everything else? Yes and no. I like to think that there wasn't, because if I'm doing my job, then this should just be part of my job. This just should be part of my job like any other. And that's how I try and see it. That's how I try and see sex scenes. Unfortunately, there is a lot of stigma around them, automatically.
Yeah.
You have a closed set, everyone's whispering, everything's real quiet. You know, they're very sensitive towards the actors, like they're almost like they're children sometimes, tiptoeing around you and make sure you've got everything you need. And great, fine, you look after your actors, and absolutely there are going to be people, I was one of them in my first sex scene, who are going to be feeling very, very vulnerable. You're in a very vulnerable position.
Yeah, yeah.
But I try to see past that and see it as doing, my ultimate objective is to do this like any other scene. I have objectives in this scene. There's a story to be told in this scene. Try and be in this scene as organically as I can, and then it will happen. Sex scenes are chopped up and there's logistics and it becomes quite technical, but so is every other scene.
Right.
So I try and approach it like that. And if you do that and you're with the other person, like I mean with your co-star in that scene, and you're there for each other in that scene, then you should achieve that objective.
And you did, like that you just explained it. That's what I was seeing.
But chemistry is a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah,
Don't get me started on chemistry. It's probably not an answer I want to give, because I'll regret it later for giving it wrong, because it's really not an exact science when it comes to the world of acting, I don't think.
Well, my wife always says, I will never allow you to kiss anyone ever in a scene, anytime. And I said, it's acting. Are you crazy? And then one of my friends, my female friend, said, would you, if your sister was the opposite actor, would you kiss her in the scene, passionately?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. And it blew my mind, because I was like, wait, that's the, wait, oh, you just proved my, oh, shit. And so does that mean there has to be something there?
No, well, that's a different thing. That, you know, that analogy that you've been given is unfair, I believe.
A second ago, you're like, oh,
it's very, very hard to see past the fact that it's your sister.
Yeah.
You are my, like, you can't, it's so difficult. You need to be a tremendous actor to put yourself in the position where you can just blank all that out and you're seeing the other character, right? It's like, no, that's really, really probably not possible. But another actor, and you're both playing a part. And it does feel like, I do see it as two different things. A stage kiss is often very different to kissing someone that you really like in real life. Even though you want to be invested in the passion and you want to be as close to the feelings for that person as you can, you're still doing it from the platform of a character that you're playing.
Yeah.
You're doing that from another space. You're executing that from another space, I believe. You certainly, I mean, a lot of people will often say to you as an actor, oh, you're so lucky you get to kiss so-and-so, or, you get to make out with Sophie, and I'm like, yeah, and it's constantly a pain in the ass. It's not, but I'm doing that as Roger. There's no meaning taken into real life from that. There's meaning, there should absolutely be meaning in the moment. That kiss should mean something within the scene, within the confines of those characters. But I think, for me, it doesn't really transfer into life. I don't come away thinking, oh my God, I've just fallen in love with that person because I've kissed them, or I want to do whatever because we've had that moment. No, you probably walk off set and have a coffee and sit and chill by yourself because you've been working with that person all morning. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a very, very different thing. So to say, would you kiss your sister, seems unfair. And you obviously have the qualities of a romantic lead, so I wouldn't let that get in your way. Yeah. I would just say, listen, I spoke to this actor, he painted the picture for me, he put it in perspective, and I'm going to go and kiss other actors.
And you're going to deal with it.
And you're going to just deal with it.
I do not like what we call in America soccer, what you call football. I like what we call football, American football. And in American football, there's a term called the 12th man, which is there's 11 men on the field, but in fact, one of the teams has a thing, the house of the 12th man, meaning 12th man is the audience, the crowd. The crowd in this particular stadium is so loud that it's another player on the field, you know. It's like so intimidating. That's how loud they are. At this point in this show, is there a 12th man, this rabid fan base? When you guys are on the set, now I'm not talking about the creatives. I know they have the 12th man on their head. They have an all probably pre-production, production, post-production. But I'm talking about you guys. When you're there, you got people that are crazy about these characters from the books, like you're saying, initially. But now this thing has gone even bigger. It's going to get bigger. This season is going to be even bigger.
It is getting bigger. It seems to be getting bigger and more popular with each season, which is great. I'm not sure how rabid the fans are. I mean, that seems like a medical condition that I can't comment on. We have amazing, passionate, very, very loyal fans, and they are the reason why we're getting more and more successful as time goes on. Now, this is a question that I think I wrestle with probably quite a lot. Is there a 12th man? Do they have an impact, an influence on us on a daily basis? No, not on a daily basis, but they do. If we're talking about performance, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about us on set,
Yes.
playing
Yes.
the characters, playing the parts within the scenes. Obviously, they have a huge influence on the show. They are the show. They support.
Yeah.
They hold the show up. So I don't mean it like that. And it is a very interesting question because I had heard so much about my character before I started filming because he was such an anticipated character on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Millions, literally millions of people already had a very, very fixed idea that they've had for maybe a decade of what this character should be. And there's not much leeway with some of them.
Yeah.
Like, no, this character Roger is this, and nothing else will do. There are people that have that idea, and on, you know, a book, a story, a movie, whatever, that you have, you know, a very passionate kind of vested interest in, you'll be quite protective of the characters you've read.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a book that you've loved for 10 years, say, I don't know, just take Lord of the Rings, for example, before that was made a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was a fan of that, still am a fan of that. And you go into that thinking, oh, I hope they've made the right choices, I hope the characters have made the right choices, I hope casting have made the right choices. So I get it, I understand why there's you're going into a sort of many preconceived ideas of what your character should be. Unfortunately, it's not very conducive to the playing of the part.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's not at all, because A, you can't cater to everyone, and B, you have to play the part for yourself. I think that's very, very important. So I had read all of the books before I had started, or all of the books up to a point, because I only had one script, and that was the last episode of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I can't build a character around that.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. Yes, if you're a guest appearance,
Yeah.
come on and do whatever you want with it, because it doesn't really matter, because it doesn't continue anywhere, and it's probably not founded in much in the way of history or character development.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be fine if I was only doing one episode, but I'm not. The character continues on quite a complicated arc throughout several seasons. So I picked up the books and I read. I loved the books. I loved Diana's writing. She does a great job. But I wanted to give myself an idea of what everyone was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
What were the fans anticipating? And I wanted to give myself, you know, an idea of what makes him tick within the books. You know, what motivates Roger? God, that sounds like such a cliche. What moves him forward, right? Which is the same as saying motivation. So just say motivation, Richard. I wanted to get a real sort of flavour of the character.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, I can build on that. I have an awareness of what people are expecting. And then from that, it's up to me to find the truth of the character, to play that character as honestly as I can. And that's not always going to be true to what people are expecting, but tough.
Yeah.
Do they want me to give a two-dimensional sort of rendition of what the majority of people want or expect?
Right.
Which isn't realistic because it's an adaptation anyway, so the characters change, the story change, logistics change. Or do they want me to give as honest a portrayal of this character as I can? Because that's always going to be better.
Absolutely.
You might just have to change your idea of the character.
Yeah.
Because an honest performance is always, maybe it's not always going to be better, but in this case, it's going to be better.
Yes.
It's going to be more natural, it's going to be more organic, it's going to be all of the, the drama, the conflict that of the events that surround that character going forward. You're going to be more in a position to be with that character if the actor is playing it honestly. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think even the people who have a rigid idea of what they wanted, would not want you to be catering to them. They'd rather you have a different way of doing it than they have in their minds, but you doing it completely your way. Like that's what, like I believe that. That's alive then. That's alive. The other way is not alive. There's no way around it. It's just not alive.
Yeah.
Like that's what it boils down to.
But there are times when I will think about things that have happened in season 4 and the ways that Roger has been perceived when that hasn't been my intention, but that's the feedback I get. That makes me stop and think.
Ooh.
Right, so have I told that story in the right way? Have I
That's interesting.
conveyed that in the way that I wanted to? In some cases, it looks like maybe not. I just think about it.
Is that helpful? Is that helpful? Like when you get that, like so you adjust.
It depends what it is, I suppose. No, I think just having an awareness of it is helpful, because a lot of the times there are many factors which influence the story that you're trying to tell. The edit, for example.
Yeah.
They may have completely changed it in the edit, the way that you thought you were telling the story in a scene. And now the way that they've put it together serves another purpose, not necessarily the wrong one, but not what you thought you were doing. It's just there's many little factors which I probably overthink quite a lot when I'm on set.
This is a listener question. Karina Liagos from Annapolis, Maryland. Would Roger go back to the 60s if Brianna wanted to go? Let me adapt this question a little bit, because the answer is obviously yes. He's having a hard time. Would Roger go back to the 60s, come back to the 1700s, and then go back to the 60s if Brianna wanted to?
So Roger's going back to the 60s, then back to the 18th century, then back to the 60s. So it's like, can you make up your mind, Brianna?
Would he do that if
Where
she
do
wanted
you want
to?
to be right now? I often wonder why they don't commute.
I know. That's what I started thinking.
Because I understand, from what I understand, but we haven't really fleshed it out. There are consequences in this, and I have to hold this dearly, that there are consequences to travelling through the stones.
What are
it's
they?
damaging to your soul, I believe.
We haven't come across them yet.
No,
though.
but this is I have to have for myself.
Oh, yeah.
This is
that
the
makes
story
sense.
I tell myself, because we haven't really, we don't know what the physics of the stones are. We don't know what the cost of travelling, other than precious stones.
Oh, yeah.
It costs you
Gotta have
precious
stones.
stones, which aren't everywhere in either of those time periods.
Yeah.
You know, they're expensive as hell in the 60s, and they're quite rare in the 18th century, and also expensive as hell. But they do have some, and I often wonder, right, we have a fellow with an infection who needs proper penicillin.
Just pop him in.
I'm
Pop him
just going
back.
to jump back to the 70s
Bring him back after he's done, after he's well.
Yeah. Or I can go and get shopping. I can go to the 60s or 70s and get some shopping.
Just some old coins.
Yeah, or bring back lots of money. Not just some old coins, but lots
Lots of it.
Yeah.
Because everything comes back with you on your person. This is like, I hope the creatives are listening to this.
Bring back some advanced weapons that would help us with the revolution, you know.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You haven't done a lot of American accents on film or in TV.
Once or twice.
Is using that accent more something you want to do?
Yes.
And does that mean you're doing it in American movies or television?
I don't care.
It's such a small place. Who cares if it's American, right?
I don't care if it's American.
Right.
I do a lot of work. I have been doing a lot of work on my accents and my capacity to do accents. It can be quite complicated if you want to get into it in terms of phonetics and studying phonetics and understanding, I suppose, the biology. Would that be the right term of accent works and how we articulate other accents, you know, from other places. What's going on? So, and over the last couple of years, I have kept on top of many accents, my American accent, various British accents, regional and RP. I've even been working on a little bit of South African and Australian. Not that I think those accents will ever come up, but it's certainly, at the very least, it's interesting and sometimes good fun. But do I want to use the American accent above all others? No, I wouldn't say I am particularly focusing on that as my ultimate accent. But yeah, I do want to use it more. I want to use all the accents that I've worked on more. I also, it's an instantaneous character for me sometimes. If the character has an accent, I really don't feel like myself. So I quite like doing accents. Anyway, so yeah, I want to use the American accent more. I want to use my English accents more. I want to use my RP accent more. So it doesn't necessarily mean to imply that I want to be, you know, exclusively doing American films and TV with an American accent. I do want to do American films and TV, let's not.
Yeah.
You know.
Season 7, Outlander. How are you feeling about it?
Are we doing our third interview?
Oh, what?
And flash forward, you're probably asking me that in 2 years' time, because I think we'll probably do this again.
Yeah.
So how am I feeling? So it's been a couple of years since we've spoke, hasn't it? And that was great, by the way, that interview. I loved the way you put that together.
And I'm a big actor now.
Yeah, and
thanks to you.
I loved the chemistry in that scene with Scarlett was just through that was
Thank you.
Off the charts. How am I feeling? Well, listen, this is something I was talking to Sam about last night in terms of how we see the future of the show, where we think we kind of would like the show to go. And it's based on books, right? And these books are going to have a conclusion. By book 10, I think Diana's wrapping up the story. So, for me, personally, I would like to finish the story, whatever that is. Because stopping it any earlier, you know, season 6 or season 7, not that that's going to happen, but we don't know, right? Would be, I think, very unfulfilling. It would be like we'd told 70% of a story and then just stopped. Yeah. With no conclusion or payoff or happy ending or whatever that is, right? No third act, no ending. I think I would be quite disappointed by that. So I'm looking forward to, and I loved season 5. I think season 5's the best season yet. Mainly because I'm in it a lot more. I think that's the reason. It's the variable. It's that's the only variable I can think of. What's been different?
You're being very objective.
Season.
I mean, it's
very objective. I'm not looking at this from a personal point of view at all. I'm like,
obviously,
what's different? Why was season 4 like quite great, and then season 5 was much greater again? And I think, well, it must be because I'm in it more.
This would be a lot less painful if it wasn't true.
Right? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that's got to be it. No, but I think that actually the way... That's only partially true. Come on, let's give credit where credit is due to the rest of the cast and our amazing writing team, but mostly to me. No,
but wait, will you get sick of Roger? That's what I really want to know.
Well, this is what I mean about maintaining focus, right?
Yeah.
You have to be objective about it, because if you do anything for long enough, you're going to get bored of it.
Yeah.
It's going to take its toll on you. You're going to start to get complacent. You are. It's not like, I love my job, I love this character and I love the show, but it doesn't matter. There is always a danger that you're going to get complacent because you've been doing it for such a long time, right? Yeah. It's just about keeping it fresh. Keep it fresh, approach it differently, maintain your focus, and it will be fine. We have amazing jobs. We have great jobs that I'm very grateful for, and it's far too easy to go, oh my God, I can't be bothered with the next season. I can't be bothered going to work. I've shot 4 times this week. What? I need some days off. It's like, no, hang on. You get paid well. You have a fan base that love you. You're in a show that's doing really well and is on the rise. Take stock of that for a moment in your hiatus and come in and attack it from a fresh angle if you need to. I think that's important. So I'm seeing the coming seasons as being an amazing opportunity, and it will be an amazing opportunity to do my job, because season 5 was, I thought, we've got some excellent stuff in there. I mean, I'm joking obviously to say that I'm solely responsible. I'm only responsible for the majority of the part, but no, the writers have done such a great job this season. I think what they've done by taking parts of book 6 and incorporating that into the story this season, I think it's really great. I think the relationships are all there. You see them really come along. You've got new characters, you've got relationships with familiar characters that have never particularly had a relationship that start to forge one, and you see the development of that. And I think there's a lot of really great stuff this season, and I have no doubt there'll be a lot of really great stuff in season 6. And yes, I will probably be bored again by season 7, but that's up to me to sort my shit out and pick that up and run with it. And I'll probably be bored again by season 8, but I will not start my first day bored or unenthusiastic.
Yes.
I will attack it.
Yes.
Like I do with all of my parts. So,
Richard Rankin, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a really, really, really great chat.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.